Thanks for sharing us on the conversation. Now, on the first half, we dealt situations in Kenya and South Africa, where Kenyan nationals can have a visa-free entrance into South Africa for 90 days. And right now, we switch gears into Tunisia, where the Speaker of Tunisia's dissolved parliament and arch-rival of President Kais Saied was released late Thursday after standing trial for a case involving money laundering and incitement to violence. Rached Ghannouchi, who also heads the Islamist-inspired another party that dominated Tunisian politics for a decade until Saied staged a power grab in mid-2021, was previously questioned on the case in July. Other NADA members are also facing prosecution over suspicious transactions involving Istalingo, a digital content production firm in Tunisia.
The company has been under investigation since last year for allegedly plotting against state security and inciting violence. After a 14-hour hearing, the investigating judge released Ghannouchi, said his lawyer, Sami Triki, adding that no date for the next hearing has been set. Earlier in the day, the 81-year-old arrived at the court in the coastal city of Sousse, where he told journalists the case was an empty lie and an invented problem. Now, joining us on News Central's The Conversation today is Abdulateef Ahmed, Head of Research and Monitoring at News Central Television. A warm welcome to you, Abdulateef Ahmed, and thanks for joining us on The Conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're always happy to have you. Now, Abdulateef, who is Rached Ghannouchi, and why is this money laundering case getting a lot of media attention? How big of a figure is he in Tunisian politics?
Rached Ghannouchi has become a household name in Tunisia because he's been known from the start as someone who has defended civil liberties, has defended women's rights, has defended popular participation in democratic processes. He was jailed on about 2 or 3 occasions because of his promotion of ideals for multi-party democracy. And so that by the time he was about 22, he had left the country, sought exile abroad, and he continued to espouse freedoms and civil liberties in the country. By the time he returned and he was jailed, he still continued to write about women's rights and continued to project a future for Tunisians where inclusive governance would happen. In recent times, he's been at loggerheads with the President Kais Saied because of the ideals that he stands by. The president had sacked the parliament, sacked the judiciary, and essentially running a one-man show. So Ghannouchi represents the voice of most Tunisians. He heads the Islamist another party, which he formed in 1981. While a lot of people are wondering why Kais Saied wants to extend his tenure in office, a lot of people also are asking why has he continued to remain the head of the another party since 1981. Unlike the electoral system where you have to elect your leaders as democratic leaders, the Islamist movement does not rely on democratic processes. It is usually based on this, the most knowledgeable, the most vast person amongst the group. He has shown over time that he welcomes a system of governance where more Tunisians can have their voices and their rights protected.
Now, Abdulateef, looking at the background of Rached Ghannouchi from what you've described, now he told journalists the case was an empty file and an invented problem. Do you actually think that they are politically motivated?
Yes, clearly, his problem were manufactured. They are politically motivated because he had predicted almost everything that Kais Saied was going to do. In January, he did say that Kais Saied intends to change the constitution to suit him so that he will remain, a president for life. Kais Saied had done that. He has changed the constitution, and clearly the attempt to gag Ghannouchi was essentially because a lot of people will always listen to the opinions and the thoughts of Ghannouchi, one of 100 most respected thinkers in the world.
Now, Abdulateef, you talked about President Kais Saied assuming almost Pharaoh-like powers after the power grab and changing the constitution. How independent is the judiciary in Tunisia, and what are Rached Ghannouchi's chances of getting a free and fair trial?
Well, Rached Ghannouchi has been released, declared free from what the allegations of terrorism that has been alleged against him. But it does not mean that that is the end to his trial. Government can always manufacture more claims against this person to get him back into, behind bars. The object of the government is to ensure that his voice is not heard, his opinions are not, does not gain traction amongst people. So we are expecting that with the declaration from the courts, he's been freed. However, knowing the tendencies of Kais Saied and how he has made the judiciary an extension of his own office, there's a chance that he could play the judiciary into getting Ghannouchi back into imprisonment, or ensuring that he's unable to enjoy civil liberties, as the case may be.
Okay, now while he has been free of this money laundering case, we also know that Ghannouchi and other NADA officials are also on trial in a separate case known as the shipment of jihadists to conflict zones, which has been at the heart of the political debate for years and has recently resurfaced. Now, what's the latest on this?
Yeah, so like I said, manufacturing trumps of charges against political adversaries is easy for government. They can come up with similar ones and more. But if you remember that one of the figures that have always advocated a balance between democratic tenets and Islamic tenets is Ghannouchi himself. Don't forget, he has continued to espouse ideals that creates balance between both sides, conservatives and pro-Western component of the society. Would ordinarily assume that because he has the Islamist movement, he will be completely pro-Islamic. However, he was one of those who rejected the incorporation of the Sharia in the constitution of the country. He had created a balance between the fears and the concerns of a country like Tunisia, which is largely Muslim, but secularist in its outlook.
Now, Abdulateef, Tunisia was hailed as a beacon of democracy in the Arab world following the Arab Spring, and Tunisians voted earlier this year for a new constitution. How would you rate the level of freedom and democracy in Tunisia under President Kais Saied?
So for Kais Saied, democracy at the moment is in its all-time low, because democracy does not thrive without opposition. Democracy does not thrive by a uniparty system. It has to be all parties coming in to share their ideas and share what they know best to do. But the way the President Kais Saied has continued to run the show, it has continued to it has led to voter apathy and continued to dampen the morale of a lot of electorates. So in the electioneering, few people participated. A lot of opposition parties did not partake in it, and they had already declared it null and void and inconsequential. For Kais Saied, he is working with the end in mind. Therefore, the process is predetermined, having known what he intends to do. Unfortunately, Kais Saied is a constitutional lawyer, and you will have thought that he will know better.
That's the irony of it all.
Yes, than to do what he's doing at the moment.
But while you talk about all the trumped-up charges against Rached Ghannouchi and, of course, the another party, are other opposition parties in Tunisia facing the same type and levels of scrutiny from the authorities like the another party?
Not exactly. Every opposition party in Tunisia has a run-in with the government. However, the reason why another party is being targeted is because of the surprising victory it had, a few years ago after the Arab Spring, when Ghannouchi returned from exile, and he participated in galvanizing people, women especially, children, young people, into the electioneering process, and a lot of them voted, and his party won. In a surprising victory, it meant that the party was going to lead, the parliament. However, other parliament members who have not been as vocal as Ghannouchi also are being targeted. However, Ghannouchi is being most targeted because he represents a spectrum of people, of minds, of generations, considering his age and the advocacy that he had.
And his level of influence.
Yes, exactly. Since when he was little until this moment.
Now, as we begin to wrap up this conversation, Abdulateef, what's next for Rached Ghannouchi's trial, and what impact will this trial have on the future of democracy and freedom in Tunisia?
Well, the outcome of the election, the outcome of the pronouncement from the court will bolster civic engagement, because regardless of what the president is doing at the moment, civic engagement has continued, online participation in these deliberations has continued, things that the president cannot stop. Releasing, freeing him from the accusations is fine. However, it offers opposition an avenue to strategize and continue to raise the issues, make it the front burners, for these ordinary citizens to continue to engage, because Ghannouchi and Kais Saied will not remain forever in prominence. However, the ideals that Ghannouchi, his party, and other opposition parties pursue will define the future of Tunisia.
Okay, now finally, what's the level of stronghold that Kais Saied has over the country? Because you talk about the opposition parties, the another party and others. How much stronghold does Kais Saied have over Tunisia?
At the moment, democracy cannot work if you do not have the fulcrums and the components of democracy working, side by side. You do not have scrutiny when the parliament is suspended. You do not have, believe in the system when you do not have a judiciary that people believe in. So you have a lot of young people, young Tunisians, leaving the country, refusing to invest or hope and anticipate for better. And therefore, they are leaving the country for, better or saner climes or alternative climes where they can thrive. And it therefore means that as long as Kais Saied is in power, as long as he's running the constitution based on what he wants, the stronghold would continue. I do not know what form of electioneering will usher in a different governance structure. However, as long as Kais Saied is in power, I do not see anything different from what he has set out to do.
Wow.
Okay, thank you very much. Abdulateef Ahmed, head of a research and monitoring desk at New Central Television. Nice to get your insights on the subject.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, this is where we draw the curtains in today's the conversation, the first half of the program. We did look at the new visa regime between Kenya and the Republic of South Africa, where Kenyans will be allowed to travel to South Africa visa-free and vice versa. We just concluded our conversation on the court case of money laundering leveled against the opposition leader in Tunisia, Rached Ghannouchi. Thank you for being a part of the program. I'm Gbenga Aborowa.
And I am Rita Omodia. Goodbye.